and a warm welcome. Right, today something a little bit different, a little bit extra. I would encourage you, indeed implore you, if you would please, to take a look at a couple of recent YouTube videos. One by Stuart Fillingham and one by Geoff Buys Cars, and links in the description below. But basically, if like me you are very precious about your rights to ride your motorcycle anywhere and at any time in this country of ours, or your motor car for that reason, then it'd be a very good idea to go have a look at those two videos. Stuart's is basically about what we can do to push back against the relentless green agenda as manifested in the increasing number of restrictions, be they CAS zones, ULEZ zones, or road charging, or whatever. So what Stuart's basically done is come up with what I think is quite a good idea about how to at least make it clear what those of us that oppose those oppressive restrictions and regulations think, and hopefully it will pick up a momentum all of its own, and we might get somewhere. So have a look at that channel. I think he's got a good idea there. Geoff Buys Cars channel, have a look at that, because his latest one is about an article that's been written by Rowan Atkinson. Now when it comes to Rowan Atkinson, if you can't see past Mr. Bean or Blackadder, he has a degree in electrical engineering. So he's a bright spark, if you'll forgive the pun. And he's written a very, very compelling article indeed, in which he believes we are seeing the death throes of the electric vehicle revolution. And of course, if you think about it, all revolutions have their death throes at some point. So what he basically says is that there are other technologies widely available and widely being invested in which are far greener and far more conducive to the, shall we say, crusade, whether you believe it or not, against global warming and climate change than electric. So for example, JCB, the plant manufacturer, they're heavily invested in hydrogen engine research, and there's also a lot of research into synthetic fuels, which potentially also are a lot more conducive to the green agenda. So have a look at that one as well, if you will. Now, I've been around long enough. I've worked over 4 decades alongside and for the establishment, and let me tell you, it is my experience that madcap ideas can gain traction, and if there's enough money involved for enough greedy people, they will establish themselves against the greater good of the population at large. And you'll know I've touched on these subjects before, because as we all know, the increasing number of restrictions on the kinds of vehicles that we can use in certain areas always punishes the least well off. And it's also worth bearing in mind that the least well-off people, a lot of them our critical workers of course, are driving older cars, and almost certainly in most circumstances cars that they will be keeping for a long time, not your statutory PCP inspired 3-year and then sell it on, skip it and get another car that has had God knows what amount of impact on the climate and the planet whilst it was being made. So it's worth bearing that in mind, that you know, the people that are using the most environmentally friendly cars, i.e. the ones that they don't change, the ones that they keep and look after and have well maintained and keep for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more years time, they are far more environmentally friendly than the person that buys an electric vehicle on a PCP, for example, and then turns it round after 3 years, either because they're being encouraged to do so by the industry, or because it's past its best, the battery's packed in, or whatever. So I think those are all things that are worth bearing in mind, and they are things which are touched upon in those 2 videos. But to my mind, the only way to push back against this, and it's about behaving reasonably, proportionately, but vocally, because if we don't, it'll be upon us before we know where we are. So I think really the way to go about it is for all the YouTube channels that normally put out this sort of content, whether exclusively or occasionally, should really enter into a collaboration, and I hope that that will come about on the back of certainly a Stuart's video there. So have a look at that, see what you think, because I get an increasingly fearful feeling that these restrictions are a lot nearer than we think, and they're being driven by 2 basic principles that are playing out in government and in large corporations. One is greed, money, cash, profit, excess profit, tax avoidance, things of that nature. And the second is control, because what these people want above all is to be able to control the masses, because they fear the numbers advantage that we, the rank and file, actually have over their tenuous grasp on power. So please have a look at those 2 videos, a big shout out to them, and yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. I think this is probably the way forward. Okay, just a quick one, so that's it for now. Until the next time, ride safe, be kind, and I'll catch you soon. Toodle pip.